Hello and welcome back. In today's video I thought I would have a bit of fun and rank every Scarlet and Violet set. Now before we start, a few quick points to go over. This ranking is my opinion only. There will definitely be parts of it that the general Pokemon community might not agree with, but that's okay. If you have any disagreements, please make a comment. I'll be interested to know what you think. Second point is that I've decided to separate all the standard sets from the special sets. I think that for me, a special set, because the price is a little bit higher on packs, you can't get packs for as cheap usually. For me, they need to do a little bit more to get the same grade. So with that being said, let's start with the standard sets. And so we'll go in order from my lowest ranked to highest ranked. And starting off with Obsidian Flames at D+. So I know a lot of people would disagree with this, but for me, this is the only failed set of the Scarlet and Violet era. And this is the only set I've skipped and not bought anything for. Actually, I did buy a couple of packs at release, but didn't buy a booster box, didn't pre-order a booster box, didn't go after any extra packs. And I basically thought this was not a good set, really. This is probably the worst set, in my opinion, since Darkness Ablaze, I would say. Even Pokemon Go, I think, is a special set, obviously, but even that I would give like a C, whereas this it just didn't really appeal to me at all, other than the Ice-Q special illustration rare. I really like the Ice-Q. Pidgeot, one of my favourite Pokemon, but the special illustration rare, that whole Pidgey line, I just wasn't a fan of the art style. Not a complaint that they added that art, I think having different art styles is good for the TCG as a whole, but didn't really appeal to me. The Charizard, obviously it's a Charizard set. The EX is cool, but I'm not going to buy a set just for the EX. And the special illustration rare, I think, so the set before Obsidian Flames was, I believe, 151, which has the Charizard special illustration rare. And then two sets after this, we had Paldea and Fates, which also has a Charizard special illustration rare. And out of those three, I think this is the worst in Obsidian Flames. To me, subjective appeal, and I think the price as well is currently the cheapest. So it's not even the best Charizard, it's the third best Charizard in 9 months in this set. And then the Reveroom, I think, is cool, but not a huge Reveroom fan. I did buy the card, like $10 at one point. There was a bunch of really cool decks that came out in Japan, and then instead of releasing them in English, they just squashed them all into this set. So there's a bunch of random EX cards, a bunch of random cards. Not a great, it just doesn't feel too thematic, and yeah, was not a huge fan of the Obsidian Flames, so D+. Next set, we go way up to B. So basically, from here on out, every set I think is pretty good. Now, Scarlet Crown I've given a B for because I think it just didn't hit any huge heights. Obviously, it's got some cool illustration rares. I think, is it the Bulbasaur and Squirtle in this set? I think, possibly. But no huge chases, I think. The Terrapagos is cool. The Hydrapple is cool. The Dash Bun is cool, but none of them really scream out to me that I really want that card in particular. And so I feel like Stellar Crown just doesn't really hit that hard. A lot of these rankings are sort of determined on what pack I would rather open. And I'd rather open a Stellar Crown than Obsidian Flames, but I'd rather open basically any of the other sets over Stellar Crown, but not by much. So next set, also at B, is Journey Together. Maybe I was a little bit harsh on Journey Together here. I think Journey Together is a good set as well. Again, no huge chase, although I would like the Hopstation. I think that's a cool card. I think with Journey Together, there's been a lot of argument I've seen in the last few months if Journey Together is a good set or if it's a mid set. And I think it can be both. It can be like a mid set in terms of Scarlet and Violet, which is a really high level era in my opinion, but it can also be a good set. And I think it is a good set. I like a lot of the cards in it. It's cool illustration rares, some cool special illustration rares, but a bit similar to Stellar Crown, nothing huge that I'd be excited to get a pack to try and chase. So B for Journey Together. I'm making a deck out of Journey Together, which I think is pretty cool, but next set we have Paldea Evolved. So this is my next controversial opinion, to put Paldea Evolved down so far beneath other sets. And I've given it a B+, which is still a good score. I think it is a good set. The thing for me with Paldea Evolved is I think it's overrated because I think the Magikarp is overrated. And that's a controversial opinion, obviously. I really love the Shinji Kanda artwork on the Magikarp. What I think is overrated about it is that it's an illustration rare, so it has no texture, which for me really elevates a card and makes it feel that bit more special. And the illustration rare foils just don't have that same appeal to me. It's a really flat foiling. It's not a Galaxy or a Cosmos foil. It's just that really flat, unappealing foil. So for that reason, I think the Magikarp, while it's a cool artwork, is not the hype chase that a lot of people have been considering it as. For the rest of the set, there's a bunch of good special illustration rares. Obviously you've got all the starters, you've got the 4 legendary beasts, which are really cool. And I do like them a lot, but I think, again, no huge defining chase that elevates Paldea Evolved for me as one of the best sets of this era. But I do think it's a really cool set. The pull rates were much more generous back then as well in terms of special illustration rares, which does give it a few more points, I think. But I've left it at B+, because I think some of the sets like Scarlet and Violet base is actually really underrated. And that's because the pull rate is so high in this era, and there's some really cool special illustration rares you can get. I think the biggest mistake they made with this set is the name. I think they shouldn't have called it the base set. They could have given it any sort of cool name, and I think it would have appealed a lot more to people. There's just something about hearing base set which makes it sound so unexciting, so unappealing, and I think that really turns some people off collecting it. But there is some cool cards, like special illustration rare wise with the Gardevoir, which is amazing. I really like the Koraidon and Miraidon, and there's some cool illustration rares as well. So I think Scarlet and Violet base set is a B+ for me. Next up we have Twilight Masquerade, which does have probably the first set that has a really strong chase with the Greninja. For me, I do think the Greninja is really cool. It's not one of the top cards for me from the era, but I do like it. Especially seeing it so much over the last few years, it has grown on me with the exposure effect. I also like the Blood Moon Ursaluna special illustration rare, and even the Ogapons. I'm not an Ogapon huge fan, but I do like them. I would not be upset to pull an Ogapon like some people. And yeah, I think it's a good set. I think the theming for this set as well is really strong for Twilight Masquerade. It has that. I played through the DLC for Scarlet and Violet, so you can really feel that DLC coming through with this set. Next up we have Paradox Rift, another set I think is really underrated. I don't know how, I think it's because a lot of the Pokemon in this set are more newer. So obviously you've got the Roaring Moon special illustration rare, which for me is one of the top 3 cards from Scarlet and Violet. I love that card so much. I managed to get it in a collection, and it's one of my favorite cards I own now. In addition to that, you also have obviously the Iron Valiant, you've got the Garchomp, you've got the Golisopod, which I think is one of the coolest illustration rares. That special illustration rares doesn't get spoken about much. The Altaria is really cool. Even like the Tapu Koko is a really interesting card. And if you like illustration rares, there's also the Groudon, which I think is possibly still the most valuable card in the set. And I think, like Scarlet Violet base set, this is a really underrated set. The pull rates are sort of mid here between the early and later eras of Scarlet and Violet. So yeah, I think it's a great set. Next up, we have Temporal Forces, which I can see why a lot of people would have this lower. For me, I just really love all the special illustration rares you can find in this. All the 6 Pokemon. Obviously, you got Walking Wake. The 3 favorite for me, probably Raging Bolt is one of the top 3 cards for me in the Scarlet and Violet era. Then you've got Gouging Fire, and I also love the Iron Boulder. But really, any of those 6, I think are really cool cards. There was a period last year, back before the hype boom, where every week I would get a pack of Temporal Forces, hoping to pull one of the special illustration rares. And it never happened, but one day I will get those cards. And so for me, that just elevates this set. I think it's A-. I think it's if you don't like the whole past future gimmicks, obviously it's not that big of a set, but for me, I really enjoy it. Next up, we have Surging Sparks, and I think a lot of people have compared Surging Sparks to Vivid Voltage, but I don't think that comparison works outside of the Pikachu chase card, because there's so many other cool cards in Surging Sparks which you can pull. So obviously you can get the Pikachu special illustration rare, but if you miss that, you can also get the Latias, you can get the Executor, you can get the Milotic, you can also get the Hydreigon, I think is the other one. All of which are really top tier, cool cards that I personally would love to pull. So Surging Sparks gets an A for me. Theming is really cool. I love the vibe of the set. Illustration rares, I can't even remember a single one off the top of my head. But just the special illustration rares alone, for me, makes Surging Sparks a really cool set. But there's one set which I think is my favorite overall for the whole era, and that's Destined Rivals. So I've given it an A+, because I think thematically it's incredible, design is incredible. The only slightly disappointing thing is that I think a lot of us wanted to see Dark Pokemon make a return. Possibly they could have done Light Pokemon in Journey Together, Dark Pokemon in Destined Rivals would have been cool. But even without that, I think this is a fantastic set. The artwork's so good for the special illustration rares as well, on top of some really popular fan favorite Pokemon. The Mewtwo obviously is incredible. You have the Moltres, Rocket's Moltres, which I love the Akira Egawa artwork on that one. Then you've got the Garchomp and the Ho-Oh, which are both cool. And then my personal favorite card of the whole Scarlet and Violet era, the Team Rocket's Nidoking, which one day I will get a hold of. Those all combine to make this the best set of the Scarlet and Violet era, in my opinion. So that's it for standard sets. Now we move on to the special sets. And first we have Prismatic, which is, I didn't know what to give this set, to be honest. I still don't really know how I feel about Prismatic Evolutions. It's an interesting set to try and dissect, I think, because it's been so hard for people to get any. There was a poll on the Red Pokemon Cards Reddit where they went eliminate the worst Scarlet and Violet set, and this is the one that got voted to be eliminated first as the worst set of Scarlet and Violet. Now, I don't know if that's the case. I think people were just mad at availability. The pull rates are obviously very tough in this set. And if I'm thinking about, the reason I gave it a C, if I'm thinking about what I would want to open, I don't really want to open Prismatic Evolutions. I got an ETB finally after 6 months of waiting for the pre-order, and I haven't opened it yet because I know it'll be disappointing. Unless you're a degenerate gambler, it's one of those sets that just it's not appealing to open. And so for that reason, I've given it a C. Obviously, it's got a lot of cool special illustration rares. If you hit it big, you hit it big. I do like the Pokeballs, but I wish they were done in a different way, like in terms of rarity and how they were distributed. I wish they were the reverses. And also the reprints in this set, I think, obviously it's for the players, but then you put God packs in it, so the players can't really get any. It's a weird scenario. It doesn't feel cohesive outside of the evolutions. So I've given it a C, but that's subject to change in future. It's an interesting set for sure. Next up, Stellar Crown. Shrouded Fable. I actually like this set. My issue with Shrouded Fable is I don't think it should have been a special set. I think if they bundled this in with Stellar Crown, it would have elevated Stellar Crown, and there was no need to make it a special set. A bit of a money grab by the Pokemon Company to put this on its own. I do think the special illustration rares are cool. I like the Loyal 3. There's some cool illustration rares, the Persian. I think Houndoom is also in this set. So not a terrible set by any means. Pull rates are rough, I think, for this set as well. They felt rough for a special set. So I've given it B-, and maybe it's a C+. Not the best set, didn't need to be a special set. And that's my thoughts. Then we have Paldea and Fates. I've sort of gone back and forth on this a bit. This is a weird set because the top cards are so cool. You have the Charizard, the Gardevoir, the Mew, Double Mew special illustration rares, which are incredible. Some of the coolest in the whole era. But then the rest of the set doesn't feel as good. Like thematically, it's incredible with all the baby shinies from Paldea. The full art shinies felt kind of cheap, I think. It sort of got worse and worse with that, starting with Hidden Fates where they were incredible. So that doesn't feel like good. There was only 3 illustration rares as well, like the Pawmi, I can't remember the name of the other 2 right now. Oh, the Wugtrio and the Dolphin, whose name escapes me. But yeah, there are only 3 illustration rares, so you pull them a lot. Yeah, weird set. So I've given it a B because, again, like special sets are hard to critique. Then we have Black Bolt and White Flare. I'm just going to rank them together. I know Black Bolt I think is slightly more expensive at the moment because it has some bigger chasers. These sets as well, I'm kind of torn. The special illustration rares again are fantastic, top tier. I love like the Genesect, the Kyurem, obviously Reshiram and Zekrom. Even like Jellicent I think is really cool. A ton of illustration rares. Good pull rates actually on this set, which elevates it a bit. The Pokeballs and Master Balls are a big downgrade, I think, from Prismatic. And I still think you can't master this set, so for me that's a massive disincentive to ever open any. But I do think it's still a really good set, and it will endure quite well, I think. So I've gone with B+. And then finally, we have 151, A+, fantastic set. The only issue I have with 151 is the pull rates did feel pretty rough, and I think I got unlucky as well with what I opened. So it's an A+ still for me. It's obviously like the complete opposite from Prismatic. This is the set to collect, the set to try and get a master set. Especially if you were around when this released 2 years ago, it wasn't super hard to get some if you were willing to just spend. Like the market rate wasn't super high for 151 when it released, so you could just open a bunch of packs. You could pull a few special illustration rares. You could buy the rest of them. You could complete the set for, while it was expensive, it wasn't out of reach for the regular collector. I'm so glad they didn't put the Pokeballs, Master Balls from the Japanese version in this. And it remains a fantastic set. I think they've printed this again and again and again, and people still love opening it. Unlike Evolutions, this was never on clearance. This was never cheap. It was reasonably priced for a while, but it was always going to do well long term. I think if you're going to master any set, this is still probably the set, if you can find some for a reasonable price to open. And that's the conclusion of the special sets. And the conclusion of this video. Let me know what you think. If you've made it this far, thanks for watching, and I hope you enjoyed. See you next time.